Okay. Possibly I am streaming now. If you can hear or see me and you want to put that in the chat, that would be great. I'm using third-party software and hoping that it's working. Let's see here. Not looking good. Okay. Okay. Theoretically, that's a yes. Oh, wonderful. Okay, very glad to hear it. I think there might be a little bit of a delay with the chat, but it is, we are good. So, awesome. Very cool. Yeah, hi everybody. How's it going? It's been quite a month. I've spent a lot of it doom scrolling. Hope everyone is, more or less doing alright. Yeah. So, while we kind of just wait and let people trickle in if they want to, I'm gonna tell a dumb story. That's a little bit of a brag and then a little bit of a story about how you can't take me anywhere. I posted about this a little bit on social media, but I got invited to a conference called for Military Veterans in Journalism, which is like a organization that exists, and I got nominated as a top 10 vet in journalism, which is very exciting. That's awesome. So they paid like for my hotel and my flight, and like they comped my attendance, and I got to go to Chicago, and they gave me a little award, and it was all very nice. And I returned that favor by during a panel about political reporting in the aftermath of the election, when somebody was talking about the New York Times article about Zoran Mamdani's scandal about saying that he's African American when he came from Africa and is American, and also put Asian American and tried to explain. Anyway, they were fishing for a word for it, and I yelled hit piece as though I were a heckler at a comedy club and drunk. I wasn't. It was 3 in the afternoon, and I was sober, and this was a conference that I'd been cordially invited to. And I immediately felt awful. I was correct, but probably not amazing to like shout at somebody from the audience, especially when that somebody is like a little bit in charge of the event. It was awful. So I felt very stupid for most of the day. And then at night we had like a mixer, and the person I shouted at was quite drunk, and I went up and like, hey man, I'm sorry, I was out of line. He's like, no, you're absolutely right. And we had a great conversation. So I don't know. It was all it ended happily, but this is why nobody should probably invite me anywhere, because I can't not shout, I guess. So yeah, that's like the only someone just solidarity in the chat. It's just, I don't know. I'm better than I used to be, but I do have a problem where sometimes I just say stuff, and I feel like I'm just kind of watching myself like, oh, that's an interesting choice I'm making. I'm sure this won't come back to haunt me, but anyway, that's about all I've got. I've been doom scrolling a lot because the news has been fucking awful. But yeah, let's get into some questions. And of course, as always, if you got stuff, feel free to throw it in the chat. I'm gonna start from slightly less serious, and then we'll get into the more serious stuff, just to ease in. Let's see here. So, I like this one. Is it okay that I think it's funny that Trump wants to be on Mount Rushmore? Like, fuck it, let's go. Maybe in 10 years people will hate it so much they'll just give the Black Hills back to the Sioux. Full disclosure, if you ever ask me if I think it's okay that you find something funny, the answer is almost always gonna be yes within context, because the world is so goddamn stupid and it's so goddamn bleak, and I feel like if we can find a way to laugh at some of that bleakness, that like that's great actually. And I do think it would be kind of I mean, it would be awful. I wouldn't like it, but it would be funny. It would be very like just the most Trump thing that could possibly happen. Just, so tacky. That Mount Rushmore is tacky to begin with, and then to add him would be. I know. I think you have my seal of approval for finding that funny. I've been laughing my ass off about Mecha Hitler over on Twitter. Apparently, Grok went full Nazi, and that's not good. It's actually very bad that the Twitter robot is saying that Hitler is right about the Jewish people. That's awful. It is also very goddamn funny. It's like Death of Stalin black comedy funny that they tried to make an unwoke robot and then they ended up just making a Nazi, like an out and out, not even trying to hide it. No dog whistles required Nazi. That's a little funny. I'm gonna laugh at that. I have to, or I'll die. So you have my seal of approval, dear reader. Please do find that funny, and that would be an amazing gift. Like maybe at the end of it we could all just like take the whole thing down, blow the face of the mountain, the face is off, and then, and then the zoo could enjoy what I hear is a very, very beautiful place. Haven't been, I hear good things. Yeah. Seal of approval. What is the deal with the politics gambling app? I've seen you post about it. I'd never heard of it before, but it seems pretty rad. Okay. I did not stage this question, and I am not sponsored by Kalshi. If they want to sponsor me, they should call me, because, I'm not, adverse to, but I'm not. Kalshi is a horrible website. It is a horrible website where you can place bets on all kinds of things, from sports to politics to hot dog eating contests. It's kalshi.com. I do not endorse gambling on horrible events. I just personally do it because I can, for example, I put, $10 on Zoran Mamdani when he was, at 9% odds, and then he won. And if he hadn't won, I would have been out $10. And, I don't have, a ton of money, but, I have $10 to throw away every once in a while. So, yeah, sometimes I will indulge, and occasionally I'll go all in. When he reached about 30%, I put $50 more, because the polls were looking, it just seemed like the odds were way lower than they should have been. And then, of course I've lost money as well. But never more, anyway, I'm justifying my gambling habit on live stream is what I'm doing. But, I don't know. I find it's not dissimilar to the, finding things funny that aren't funny thing. It's definitely ghoulish behavior to bet on events that will, make or break a city or cause untold human misery. I've got about $10 riding on there'll be a recession this year. That's sicko shit, but I don't know, we live in sicko times, and, I don't know. So I can neither endorse nor not endorse Kalshi. Funnily enough, so it's, better than, well, it's, depending on your definition of better, it used to be overrun with Trump bros, which is, and it's still, definitely more used by Trump people than not. But that's awesome, because that means that the odds are always just a little bit skewed towards what they want to have happen, and so often they're wrong about what they think is going to happen. And so, I feel like the odds are, there's a little bit of advantage there. A little bit of it's not it's the opposite of a house advantage, I don't know. Yes, there is a reason why Schadenfreude is a word, and it's a beautiful word, and yeah, when the other kinds of Freud are gone, Schadenfreude is there for us. I hope I'm not butchering the German, but I think that's the right. Anyway, all right. All right. All right. Here's a more serious one. Do you ever think that if things get terrible enough, it'll create an opportunity for really good things to happen as people get sick of this bullshit? Kind of like with Mamdani right now. Full disclosure, I'm a bit of an optimist. Is that dumb though? I really hope that's true. That's kind of what keeps me going. I don't know if it's dumb or not, but I actually recently had a bit of a fight with a friend about this. I think that it's less dumb to hold out that hope than to decide that nothing good can possibly happen, because even if we're wrong and nothing good comes of this at all, and we just spiral into techno-feudalism and authoritarianism, we got more of a chance at not doing that if we keep an eye out for possibilities for making the world better. If we just decide that we're doomed, then we are, there's no chance. I'd rather have a 1% chance than a 0% chance. So I don't think it's dumb. And I do genuinely hope that that's true. I don't think Mamdani would have won 5 years ago. I don't think he would have won if things were better. People are people are desperate, and not in like the way that they were before, where they were like desperately clinging to like what we had. Like I feel like a vote for the Democrats was like, oh God, like this is unbearable, and I don't like being here. I don't like anything about what's happening. But like I'm so what could happen is much worse, and so I'm going to stick with the Dems. And I mean, look, I've been outspoken for harm reduction voting. I voted for Kamala. I knocked doors for Kamala. She was not a candidate that I liked, but I would do it again. However, we have now fallen off the cliff. We now are getting the future that we didn't want, and so there is no status quo to hang on to. There is no cliff face to cling to. It's over for that. So there is actually an opportunity, I think, for real change, like for something new. People are willing to take a chance. New York took a chance on Mamdani. I know that New York isn't the country, but I would be really interested to see how a Democratic Socialist with a well-run campaign does in other cities and states. I mean, Ithaca, New York, also elected quite a few Democratic Socialists to their city council, I think, whatever, their local board. And that's, that's not like, like, I don't know, it's not New York City. That's a different kind of place. So let's try. I mean, not just with Democratic Socialists. I personally am, I like that, but just there's an opportunity to like try new things because the old thing isn't working, and Trump certainly isn't working. So I do have hope that perhaps something good can come out of this, and I think that especially in weeks like the one we just had, where everything is like the worst it's ever been. That's not true, but it's been pretty bad. It's important to remember that a better world is possible, and that honestly, more possible now maybe than it was a year ago, even though a worse world is also way more possible, and in fact, here. Let's see here. I know it's very early, but do you have a Dem candidate you'd like to see run in 2028? Follow up, can you pick a celebrity candidate for 2028, or do you hate that kind of talk? So I'm not a huge fan for two reasons. Like, I don't usually speculate, and I don't always read about the speculations for two reasons. One is, like, if you'd ask somebody in 2006, who do you think is going to be the Democratic nomination? I think it's going to be Obama. Everyone on earth would be like, who the fuck is Obama? Like, what? Who is that? Like, if you don't live in Chicago or Illinois at best, like, nobody knew that name, before the convention, in, I believe it was 2006. But, things can happen, right? Dark horses can come up out of nowhere. I didn't know the name Andy Bashir or Tim Walz before the vice presidential thing happened, and it turns out I was pretty fond of both of them. So I just don't feel like there's like enough information out there. People haven't emerged necessarily. And then the second reason that's more relevant for our current time is that I am very unsure that we're going to have a free or fair election in 2028. I'm not even sure about 26. 2028 might as well be like the next era of the Earth. It is an unthinkable, unimaginable time. I mean, think about where we were 4 months ago. Like, our time right now was an unimaginable time 4 months ago. Like, Trump is threatening to take over New York City. He's threatening to deport a mayoral candidate. He has expanded ICE's budget so that it is the 10th largest military in the world by budget. That was not like, I mean, it's not like we didn't, like, it was possible, but it was not like a world that we were familiar with. It was not a world that felt like our world back in like February or even March. And I imagine in 4 months we will be in a similarly unthinkable situation. It seems like nothing's getting less unthinkable. It doesn't seem like anything's slowing down. So thinking about 2028, I find impossible. Like, I can't think 2 months in the future, never mind 3-4 years. But you've asked, and I'll try to answer. I do like both Andy Bashir and Tim Walz. I especially like Tim Walz because after this botched campaign, he hit the road and acknowledged that it was a botched campaign and accepted some responsibility for that, which I respect. I mean, he's not perfect. Nobody is. A lot of the things that he gets credit for are the result of really hard work in the Minnesota legislation and not necessarily his personal grit. Actually, a lot of it is due to the woman who got murdered out there, the politician who got murdered, is responsible for a lot of the things that Walz gets credits for. But he did it, he embraced it, he embodies it, and I think he's pretty charismatic when he doesn't listen to the Democratic strategists, which I don't think he would make that mistake again. Andy Bashir, I'm interested in seeing more from him. Also, I think he's somebody who stands on principle, and I like that. I think we're a little early for AOC, and we're certainly, I don't know. I like her. I think it would be an interesting choice. I don't know if that would be the best choice, but I'm certainly open to it, I guess. Celebrity candidate. Oh God. I don't want any celebrity candidates. I don't want any celebrities in office. I don't know. I want to think of a funny one. I should have probably thought about this before I got on stream. There's got to be a funny answer to that question. I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna consider if there's like a good answer for that. Damn. I'm sure there's like as soon as I get off the stream, like, oh, that would have been hilarious, and then it'll be too late. But I'm gonna move on for now. If I think of something, I'll interrupt myself to say it. Have a bit of a two-parter from the email, and I'm gonna read it's a kind of a longer question. I'm just gonna read it in two parts, and it's a serious one. So let's get down to it. My question, and of course I don't want you to discuss anything on a recorded medium that might get you in trouble, is can you elaborate or clarify what you meant when you said on the Substack post announcing this AMA? So hear me very clearly when I say this. If the Trump administration follows through on its threat to strip citizenship from enemies of the regime and remove them from political life by force, we have to fight. I don't mean protest. I don't mean block roads. I mean exactly what I said. And yeah, I will, while remaining within the boundaries of terms of service, try to explain what I meant by that. So one of the comments I got in response to that Substack was that war would be horrific and that nobody should want that, and I agree. If we get to the point, I'm talking about the future here, not about what we should do in the present. I'm doing a hypothetical if-then scenario in the future. This is not an actionable threat. If Trump starts to deport political enemies or to jail them, not like arrest them and let them go as a sort of threat, but actually imprison them or otherwise take them out of political life by force, that's war. That's not, we don't have to decide whether to declare war at that point. Trump will have declared war on the American people. That is not a democracy. By definition, it is, you literally just can't have a democracy when people are being imprisoned for their political beliefs, when the president is influencing elections, not with words, but with actions, actively employing force against the American people and impeding the democratic process in just the most direct possible way. And what I am saying is that if in the future that happens, that means Trump wants war, and Trump will, I hope, be getting one, because I don't think that Americans are going to put up with that shit. As for what that might look like, there was a really good thread about LA on Blue Sky from Chad Loader. I'll link to it. I should find the link to it. Hold on one second. It's a good one. I'll throw it in the chat. Apologies. All right, got it. You'll need a Blue Sky account to view it, but sacrifices must be made. Anyway, this is it's a thread about what is happening in LA. It essentially was responding to the thing where you might have seen where like ICE and I think the National Guard as well, like stormed a park, like conducted a full-on military operation in like full kit and M4s in a park that they thought was where MS-13 was based, a park in LA. So that happened, and it's terrifying to see. They roll up in these up-armored vehicles, fully masked, M4s, kitted out for battle. Ken Klippenstein got with somebody leaked to him the battle plan for that operation, and they said it was high threat. They thought they might receive fire, like they're insane. But anyway, this thread is in response to that, and basically it said, look, this isn't going well for them. It didn't go well at the park, and it's not going well generally. I'm just going to read part of it. ICE and DHS cannot move around Los Angeles undetected. Their every move is transparent, from the hotels where they sleep, to their morning briefings, to their 3-vehicle convoys entering neighborhoods. An entire megacity of 13 million people has awoken against them. They're slow and clumsy. ICE has had to adapt their tactics to avoid getting trapped and surrounded the way they did at Paramount and Bell. ICE uses small vehicle teams, 3 to 4 unmarked rental vehicles with 2 agents each. They do quick raids, grabbing 1 or 2 people at a time. Each team has capacity for only 8 prisoners. Once an ICE vehicle team fills their prisoner capacity, they have to cease kidnapping and drive to the nearest prisoner transfer staging area. Prisoner transfer stages 3 to 5 Ford Transit vans for 2 hours under freeway overpasses and secluded parking lots. Their spots get blown. They have to move. DHS and ICE's popularity are at an all-time low. ICE's suppliers are being actively boycotted. Universities are divesting from DHS's grant and recruiting programs. Their agents are being de-anonymized. ICE is sending professional video crews out like ops today to try to create PR videos, which is what we saw. What they, the terrifying videos that's the PR. But what Loader is describing here is an insurgency. We're used to that word in the context of Iraq and Afghanistan. It doesn't. What it means is when a civilian population just says no, and saying no doesn't have to look like direct gunfire. Shouldn't look that way. Like everything I just described is nonviolent. There's not even property destruction in what I just read out. That's just people who aren't having it. Everyone from the regular consumer who's not going to shop at a store that supplies ICE to a hotel employee that tells activists when ICE leaves, to people who have an app. I mean, there's that app. Please make it for Android. They're going to make me get an iPhone. Anyway, they're tracking movement on apps. They're coordinating that way. Everybody can just create friction in ways that really, really impede a counterinsurgency, which is what, again, LA, they are doing counterinsurgency stuff there. This is not dissimilar at all to the war on terror, right down to the rhetoric. It is comforting to me to remember that the U.S. has never won a counterinsurgency. They haven't won a counterinsurgency against people in a foreign country who don't look the way most Americans do. They don't speak the language most Americans do. They have a culture that is very different from American culture, and they couldn't do it there. I don't think they have a shot in hell of doing it here, where you're going to be asking National Guardsmen and Marines and soldiers, and even, ICE is going to be recruiting, so new ICE agents. You're going to be asking these people to violently suppress people who look like and sound like and act like their mom, their grandma, their sister, their brother. It's not good that humans work that way. Like, ideally, we would feel the same amount of compassion for all human beings, regardless of whether they remind us of our own family. But the fact is, just human nature, we feel more sympathy for people that resemble people that we've known in our lives, and that is what we're looking at here. If they decide to declare war, if they decide to go into New York or DC or anywhere else and remove politicians, good luck to them, because I don't see that working out well for them. And it shouldn't work out well for them. And that's kind of the point I was trying to make, is that we can't, won't, shouldn't take that lying down. And that doesn't mean insurgency. That doesn't mean war. It just means that whatever they want, I'm all for dishing it right back. If what they want is a war, if what they want is to invade a city, they're going to find out just how hard it is to exist in a large urban area when everybody in that urban area wants you out. And I very much look forward to being part of that. I look forward to documenting it if it happens. I look forward to participating if that happens. There's absolutely no way, this is our country too. I live here. I'm not leaving because I like it here, so fuck you. They just don't get to they don't just get to roll in and do their thing. It's gonna be hard for them, and I think we should all make it as hard for them as we can. Great question in the chat. First of all, a great comment, which is 8 passengers or prisoners rocking in unison could probably tip a van. Love to see that put into action, allegedly, hypothetically. And the question, which is a good one, is what would you suggest for those of us in more rural areas? And that is a great question. It's harder. It's going to be harder because you don't have the same concentration of people. And, political makeup aside, I think it's just harder to mobilize over long distances. I think the friction principle is the same. I don't think it will work as well, which is unfortunate. But, friction anywhere in the system is good. A gas station that runs out of gas mysteriously whenever the ICE vans pull in. Giving somebody bad directions. Refusing, if you're working at a place where they're staying, you can still call people. It's all small shit, and it's not, the goal isn't to stop them per se, because we can't. there's not a scenario where like we band together like plucky kids in an 80s movie and like run them out of town immediately. That's not how this is going to work. It's not how it worked in Afghanistan either. The goal is to just make it a pain in the ass, and on a long enough time frame, forcing them to expend more money, more personnel, wearing down their morale. This is the stuff that long term will do it, and it's going to be more effective in cities than it is in rural areas. But I think the principle applies there, and I also, we'll see what emerges. I have some faith in the ingenuity of Americans. I think, and rural Americans especially don't like being told what to do. Nobody. We're kind of infamous for not liking being told what to do. Like, it can be a problem even. And I think that people who are being told what to do and don't like it are going to find creative ways to make it as unpleasant as possible for the people occupying our country. So it's not like an incredibly satisfying answer, but it's what I've got. And I hope that better answers will come along. So second part of the question is, I'll be honest, I've been trying my darndest to find a way to legally flee this country, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm a cisgender white male. I'm probably not in any immediate danger, but I have queer relatives and non-white family members and descendants with less than 2 American-born citizens for parents, one of which has a criminal record here in the United States. So I've decided to stay here and fight the conservative agenda. What advice can you offer me? Yeah. First of all, I think the decision of whether to stay or go is an incredibly personal one, and I don't think that anybody has a right to tell anyone else what they should do. That is an incredibly personal choice. People who stay, if things go the way they might go, and hopefully they don't, and this whole video looks very silly in 6 months, we could all laugh at the hysteria that is on display here. I really hope that's true. I don't think it is, but I hope it's true. If it's not true, then it's going to be really unpleasant, and it's going to require, I don't know, we all have to decide what we're going to do with our one and only life, and I think get out of here and live a life in a country that doesn't want to destroy good things is a really valid answer, and that goes for anybody regardless of your identity. I plan to stay. I'm staying. I think it's a commendable thing to stay if you want to, but I hope nobody ever feels any pressure to, because, like, again, we only get this one shot as far as we know, so, if you look at this country and are like, fuck this, yeah, no. It is good to help, I think, there is also, that being said, like a priority list on people who should be thinking about leaving and who should maybe be getting the resources to leave, if possible. What this person just described as far as, people who are in more danger, especially, descendants with less than 2 American-born citizens for parents, one of the people who could be denaturalized and has a criminal record. These are people that might want to look more closely, for safety's sake, at leaving. But if you're going to stay, honestly, the advice is what I just said. Create friction and understand that, like, this isn't going to be quick. There's no scenario where we win, like, going to be quick. There's no scenario where we win, like, in months or possibly even years. Going to be quick. This is okay. Bloody hell. All right, no, that's not what I want. Excellent connection. Can you hear me? If you can hear me and you feel like throwing it in the chat, that'd be amazing. Because it's not looking great on this end, I'll tell you that right now. Son of a bitch. Yay! Oh my god, amazing. Okay, yeah, it just completely crashed on me. Oh, okay, amazing. Thank you. Very glad to be here. I don't know how much of that little rant you caught or even where I was. I'm completely, I've lost my place completely. But, yeah, just, I guess, thinking in long term. Yeah. And I now see that there is a chat, a question. What do you see happening with Mamdani? Is Trump going to deport? I feel like they won't let him win. It's a really good question. And I don't just mean, like, in the context of this AMA thing. Like, I genuinely think that's the question. I think what happens with Mamdani is going to tell us what path Trump will take. It is the perfect test case for him. We already know that with all of this awful shit that he's doing, he usually starts with people that he finds to be the least sympathetic. It's why when he began to disappear people, he began with pro-Palestinian and anti-genocide protesters, because he knew the Democrats wouldn't be fully into defending them. And similarly, I mean, the Democratic Party shows every sign of, some of them are actively campaigning against Soren, and others just refuse to endorse him. And if there was ever a test case, a communist in New York City that the Democrats don't like is the perfect test case. And I agree that I also don't feel like I feel like letting him win would be, yeah. I think so. The way I see this go, I think there's a few possibilities, and again, I think which one we get will tell us a lot about where we are and where we're headed. There's the possibility that they actually try to stop him before the election. I think that would look like denaturalization. I suspect it would look like arrest. I'm going to knock on wood. I don't think that he gets murked. I really hope not. I mean, it's not impossible. The reason that the FBI is in shambles. Basically, this whole purge they've done with putting their little loyalists in charge and sending Doge in to, like, gut unbeliever. I mean, they fired a lot of the FBI top brass because a lot of them were, involved in, as ordered, looking into Trump's crimes, and so a lot of them are gone. Pete Hegseth has decimated the Department of Defense. Kash Patel doesn't appear to be competent at anything. So I actually think we're a little bit safer than usual when it comes to extra legal things like that. I really hope that's true, because I worry about that a lot. I can tell you from some people I've talked to, I know for a fact that the Mamdani campaign has prioritized security. It is a top priority for them. They understand how dangerous this is. But denaturalization and arrest is something that could happen before the election. I also think it's possible that the rhetoric ramps up, and then if, I'm going to say when, because it's hard for me to imagine if he's, like, on the ballot and not in jail, it's hard for me to imagine a scenario where he loses. After he wins, then the question, I think it's almost more likely that we see action after than before. But I think that's where we'll start to see things like, I think Trump will defund New York. I think he's going to, bring the hammer down in every kind of bureaucratic way he can. I think he'll continue to make noises about the deportation, about the denaturalization, about arrest. I think it's very possible that New York City, they attempt to do basically attempt to do what they're doing in LA to New York. I think it's going to work out about as well for them here as it is for them there. But somebody has said hopefully he doesn't travel outside the country before the election. I also hope so. I think, God, somebody, I feel like billionaires will mobilize so hard against him they won't play clean at all. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's going to be another big part of it, is there's going to be smear campaigns. And I mean, it's funny, we're already seeing them given the old college try with the, marked African American on a forum in college, which, like, I don't know. If that's the worst they've got, we're going to be okay. I think the one advantage we really have here, and, maybe they're staving stuff, maybe there is stuff in Mamdani's past that will come back, but, like, seems pretty squeaky clean. It's not to say they won't try, but it is a lot harder to, run someone out of town where there aren't that many skeletons, or maybe any skeletons, it seems like, in that closet. So we'll see. They're going to fight dirty. It's going to be ugly. But I also feel like that little adversarial streak I was talking about earlier, where people don't like being told what to do, New Yorkers certainly don't like being told what to do. And I think the groundswell of popular support is such that the more the oligarchs and the millionaires and the billionaires and MAGA lose their shit over Mamdani, the more people are going to show up on election day and vote. And there's a lot of independents who didn't vote because they couldn't. It was a closed primary. When I was knocking doors for Zoran, which I did, and which I plan to do in the general as well in the lead up, I got 2 people in one day, in the last day that I did it all day, who were like, look, I messed up. I forgot I didn't register. I'm independent, but, I wish I could vote for him. And I was like, well, the general. And the general. I think, I do think that they're going to have to eventually resort to, legal or bureaucratic means, and hopefully not violent means, but I mean, I think it's going to be a ramp up. Trump's going to talk big. He's going to talk shit. I think denaturalization is more likely than actually offing. And I think that bureaucratic pressure is more likely than denaturalization, but we'll see. Here's hoping. Yeah, I think... Wait, hold on one second. I believe there might be another one. Oh, yeah, I've got a couple. Okay, we've got, there's at least a non-zero chance that Trump wakes up one day and is just like, I'm over ice, and just shuts it all down, right? I mean, it's not zero. Trump is a chaos demon. Who the hell knows? I would be surprised. I would be very surprised because, a couple things. First of all, Trump likes power. He likes playing soldier. Anything that involves armed guys doing what he tells them to do is, like, gonna be something that he enjoys forever. I just don't think that he's going to get tired of ice. And the other thing is I don't think, like, Stephen Miller and Russ Vought are going to let him get tired of ice. Like, Trump is, don't get me wrong, he's in charge. He's the executive. He's not, he's making decisions. But there are people, I think Stephen Miller and Russ Vought specifically, and probably others, are kind of, they're the ones with the plan. They're the ones who are, like, making this less of just like a staccato random scandal of the week presidency and more of a slow, unrelenting Project 2025 march to fascism kind of presidency. And those people aren't going to get tired of ice at all. I mean, I don't know. What fascist dictator would get tired of the Gestapo once you have it? I mean, that's what this is. That's where we're going with this. This is a secret police force. It's incredible. I can't imagine him getting tired of it. So I know that's not like a cheerful answer, but it is my answer. I would love it if that happened, though. I'd be very happy. Question in the chat. Do you think all presidential election will be mere formalities from here on out? Having gotten back into power, I feel like Trump won't give up power willingly. I agree. I don't think he will give it up willingly. And I do think that we're going to see... I don't think we're going to see the abolition of elections. I mean, most authoritarian countries have elections, or at least they have a thing where votes are cast and then a result is announced and they say the people have spoken. And I think we will maintain that. He's not going to become dictator for... I mean, even Putin, like, allegedly runs, gets votes or whatever. I do think they're just simply going to make it harder and harder for anyone but the Republicans to win. Something that didn't get reported as much because everything else was so fucking awful was during that Alligator Alcatraz concentration camp tour they did. DeSantis mentioned redoing the census because the 2020 census was, quote, botched, and then redistricting because he feels that California has too many representatives and Florida has not enough. Now, that's absurd, but how absurd is it really? You've got Trump has said himself that the two things recently in one of his speeches that the two things that America has to stay a country are big borders and secure elections. Well, we see what he's doing about the problem of undocumented immigrants. I think he's going to take the same heavy hand to elections. However, there's some hope because I think, as time goes on, they're going to have a better stranglehold of power. But I think there's a scenario where basically it's the thumb is on the scales and it's heavy. But some things could throw wrenches into that. I am looking at Republican primaries. Never been more excited in my life than when Elon Musk decided to do this America Party. Now, he could get tired of that and abandon it and go play with his little Nazi toys or whatever. But even if they just primary a couple people, even if they just throw money into a third-party candidate for president, and it doesn't have to be them necessarily. Like, it could be... If that happens, that is something that would be a real threat to their holding onto power, is a challenge from within the party. I also think Popular Uprising could do it. I think, so what I'm trying to say is I don't think we're going to have free and fair elections. I hope I'm wrong. I also don't think we're going to immediately go to, like, a Kim Jong-un kind of election where it's like 99% of Americans said Trump was great. The end. Don't think about it. Like, there's going to be, there's a gradient, right? And we're going to be going down that road. And so we'll see. 2028 is a foreign country. I said earlier, who the hell knows what the world will look like then? I don't know what the world's going to look like in 3 months, never mind 3 years, but I share your concern, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Let's see here. And I got another one. Let's see here. Oh, okay, yeah, somebody sent on the same question that was posted on the thread sent to the NGL. So, yeah, let's see. I think that is all I have for the pre-sent comments, or questions, comments, concerns. Anyone else got stuff you want to talk about? Ask, chat, I don't know what we got. Yeah, I guess, well, while I wait for the OBS software I'm using for this, the chat lags, so while I wait for the lags to, happen. Oh, there we go. We are also in a time of massive climate change. How do you think that will affect things politically? Yeah. That's a big problem that's gonna get bigger. I think it could do a few things. One thing it's gonna do, that it's already doing, is climate change is driving immigration. And that's going to increase. The global south is going to experience deleterious effects of climate change more than people in the northern hemisphere are, and that is going to drive, it is already driving immigration, and that is going to get worse, which means that, unfortunately, the, you know, the anti-immigrant sentiment isn't probably going to get better, and it will continue to be a source of tension. We're also going to get more natural disasters, and I think, you know, the Texas flooding, flash flooding happens in Texas, right? It's not necessarily something that happened because of climate change, but things are going to get worse. We're going to have more, you know, 100-year events all the time, and it's, I think it's going to expose the cracks quicker than it would if we didn't have that hanging over us. We're gonna, it's going to be more evident, more evident more quickly that the cuts that Trump is making to FEMA, to the weather, he felt much more quickly than they would be if we didn't have that. So that's the good news. And I mean, long term, it's terrifying. I don't know. I think it's going to fuel a lot of rage and fear and desperation, and that's never great for like people who want to live like a peaceful life and, you know, not live in interesting times. So I think we are in for some really interesting times, and it's unfortunate. Son of a bitch. All right, cutting in and out again. God damn it. Okay, hold on. It's fucking internet. God damn it. Thanks for letting me know. All right, we're gonna switch over to. I'm switching Wi-Fi if you can hear me. I'm gonna. Okay. All right. Okay, excellent. Very glad to hear it. Yeah, my internet has been especially awful lately, so this is thanks to the magic of wireless hotspot. Anyway, awesome. Okay, so yeah, basically the TLDR of what I just said that I probably cut out for half of it is I think it's going to be bad, and it's going to cause a lot of unrest, but it will also highlight the shortcomings of it'll highlight the bad things that Trump is doing as far as cutting FEMA and the weather service and stuff like that. It's going to be more evident, more quickly, and that's good. So, we also have thoughts on Kat Abu and her campaign. Positive. I don't know a ton about it. I have a friend who's working on that campaign, doing some policy stuff, and she's rad. So that right there, you know, on a personal level, that personal's the wrong word. Like I know that they have somebody, at least one person on their team that's like knows what the hell she's doing and has ideas that I like. I think Kat's running a very smart campaign. I think that she understands the moment that we're in. I think that, like Zoran, she is able to channel not just like a populism that actually appeals to people in the language of our current technology and culture, and rather than a bunch of, excuse me, I'm being a little bit ageist, but, you know, boomers doing boomer shit, which whatever, you know, that worked when we were all watching cable news. But I feel like Kat Abu, Zoran, and people like that really understand what connects with people and how to use social media and virality to get there and to push ideas, and how to be authentic, to come off as authentic in ways that like Cuomo just could never, because everything is scripted for him, and it's all. She doesn't sound like a politician, and that's really good. And I also think her ideas are good. I think she's smart. I think the thing where they tried to poison people against her because she's dating the guy who owns The Onion was hilarious, and I don't think it worked. So, yeah, no, I'm bullish. I'm bullish on Kat Abu and her campaign. I can't wait to see how that goes. Got a question in the chat. Do you think they build alligator Alcatraz in the Everglades hoping nature will take care of the immigration problem? Kinda. I don't think they're doing it in, like, hopes that, like, they'll all die. Like, it's not like a death camp. I don't think that's what's going on. But I do think that they are absolutely trying to create hell on earth. I think this is a concentration camp that is intended to make people suffer, and it is already, by all reports, doing that. Miami Herald had a horrifying article this morning that you can find on any social media or just by looking at the Miami Herald about, you know, they've already had somebody evacuated from the camp with a medical issue. Toilets aren't flushing. Mosquitoes are everywhere, which isn't just a pain in the ass. I mean, that's a health risk. There's already been flooding. This is not a place. This is not an extermination camp, but it is absolutely a place where people will die, and it is absolutely a place where people are not intended to leave. This thing about we're going to process people for 2 weeks and leave, that's not. I don't think that's what's happening. I get emails from this thing called the MAGA Mall, which is not an official organ of the party. It's just a merch store. But I like getting emails from them because they show me the merchandise that they want to sell. And their latest email featured a shirt that said Alligator Alcatraz, one way in, no way out. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of the idea, is that this is a place where you are disappeared to. You disappear into Alligator Alcatraz. And, they're talking about making more of these motherfuckers. They're talking about making more of these camps. Texas is talking about it. This is a model. Unfortunately, Florida loves to lead the way in horrors. And, many good people in Florida, and also Jesus Christ, your government. Oh, my God. Yeah, so kind of. I guess my answer is kind of. We have a very... the Onion guy is, in fact, yes, so lucky to be dating her. Oh, my God. One should never elect candidates based on their hotness, but, if we were to do that, I feel like she would win handily in most races she entered. She's charming, she's lovely, she looks like a lot of fun. I'm happy for them. Anyway. Yeah, what a weird time. It's like everything is so dark and fucking terrifying, and atrocities and concentration camps, actual concentration camps, and yet a new school of politicians that are rising up. And I will say, like, kind of on the Kat Abu subject, like, national elections are going to be pretty fucked, but we do have a federal system, and the states' rights that have been such a pain in the ass in other areas are actually going to really help. All Trump can really do is cut funding. That's like the weapon that the federal government wields over states and municipalities. But if he's already cutting the funding, then he's kind of given up his leverage, actually. What is he going to do? Cut funding? It's the more he cuts funding, the less leverage he has. And local elections are going to continue to matter, especially in blue areas. It's unfortunately in red areas, it's not. Red areas are going to suffer, and I don't have a good answer for that. It's not fair. There's a lot of really good people who live in red areas. Even very red areas. I mean, Idaho is one of my favorite places on earth, and because the people who live there that aren't maniacs are incredibly brave and good and don't deserve what's happening. But it's harder. Blue areas, though, local elections are going to matter. People like Kat Abu, Zoran Mandani, these are people who can make a difference, people who are going to be able to connect and to sell something that isn't just the Democrats. Like, I'm on a bit of a soapbox now, but like today I was like looking at r/conservative because I wanted to see how everyone's coping with Trump being like, why are you talking about Epstein? What's wrong with you? Like, don't you care about Texas? Like, and not well. The answer is not well. They're not doing great, which is fun. But the most common comment I'm seeing is basically this cope with like, well, the Democrats are no better. They didn't release the info. What? I'm supposed to be mad at Trump? Biden didn't? Okay, yeah. But if you got a new school of media savvy young lefty politicians who are going to be like, yeah, man, the Democrats do suck. Yeah, you're right. No, fuck that. We're offering something else. Like, that's huge. That's huge. Like, that's how we get out of this. It's not going to happen with the Democratic Party as it exists. And like, the thing I'm most hopeful about from the Mamdani election is it was an object lesson in that you can win even if the entire party apparatus is against you. What are they going to do? More nothing? They're completely their incompetence is a double-edged sword here. Like, they can't stop the Republicans. They can't stop us either. So, hooray! Very exciting times. So that, it's a dark time we're living in. It's not good, but there's some hope. I'm seeing signs of hope. I just think that we're more resilient than we think. So, yeah. All right. Anyone got anything else? If not, I'll wrap up. But if we're about 50 minutes in. I usually try to wrap up about an hour, so if anyone's got anything more you want to throw in there, feel free. We'll chat. Yeah, I live in Dallas, Texas, and yeah, the leave Texas alone, they're all effed is so frustrating. Yeah, no, it's so fucked up. Even if there's just like a few people who were rabid Republicans in Texas, it would be fucked up. But the truth is, there's more Democrats in Texas than almost anywhere. Like, they're one of the most Democratic states by the numbers. Like, there's just more Republicans. It's a very large state. People live there, and they're yeah, once again asking certain libs to leave coastal cities just one time, just for fun, just see what you like. Yeah, everyone should fucking stop that. um, yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you for all showing up. I enjoy this. I enjoy ranting. Um, and I really genuinely like y'all keep the lights on. You let me do this. This is something that I really enjoy. Like, I catch myself feeling like I've slacked off when I've done a Substack instead of like other stuff, and so the more I can make doing this, the more I can do this, the thing that I like the most. So on a personal level, just thank you. I'm so grateful to be able to, and y'all are the ones making this possible. So thank you a lot. I won't be too cheesy, but yeah, everyone have a good evening. Don't despair too hard. I certainly have been. You know, this last week's been really rough. I've not been super productive. I've been really sad. I've been scrolling, but I really do think there's hope. Like, there's signs of hope everywhere, and I think they're about to find out the limits of their power. So here's hoping. All right.